no. Check, check, check. Oh, okay. Check, check. It's working. I like seeing that light on. Check. I'm kind of paranoid because I had an entire video not work. The sound was completely missing from the first half-hour long video I made, and I pretty much said everything I wanted to say. And there was somebody, two different people other than myself watching, and nobody said anything in the chat. Someone could have said, "Hey, your volume's not working," and I saw in the at the end of every live stream, it gives me the breakdown how long people were watching, and one person watched for 15 minutes, and another person watched even longer, and the whole time nobody wanted to let me know the sound wasn't working. Check. All right, I'm almost positive it's working now, though. All right, so Hindus in India, they worship cows, okay, and they are usually vegetarian. And even if they're not vegetarian, they at least won't eat beef because they worship cows, right? Now, I was pondering the issue, and I came up with the conclusion that here in America, we might as well be worshiping cows because, look how much cows do for us. I mean, McDonald's, Jack in the Box, Wendy's, Burger King, Carl's Jr., on and on and on. And then I think about how much milk does my body good. Milk, string cheese, and ice cream is like I can live off that, just those things. And I also really love prime rib and brisket. So, and we are what we eat, right? And we eat a heck of a lot of cow, and cows are delicious. So it would make sense to worship cow. So I had assumed in my head that just must be the true origin of the reason why people in India worship cows. It must be because cows are so tasty and delicious. And I was half joking because it's kind of a silly sounding thing, but at the same time I was dead serious too. And I decided to look into it. I went ahead and Googled the thing, and and Google actually told me that I was correct. It said that in the second millennium BCE, when Europeans were in India back then, I guess, and they were pastoral. I can't say the exact word they used, but they had a pastoral economy, and cows were a big part of their economy and everything, and that really is the origin of why they worship cows today. And so basically, it is exactly what I suggested. Like I said, here in America, we should be worshiping cows because how much of a part of our economy they are, and how we basically are cows. You are what you eat, and we eat so much cow, and they're such a big part of our economy and everything. So we might as well be worshiping cows. Well, as it turns out, I did some research, and that is the origins of why they worship cows in India. But they don't know this. They don't know this at all. If they did understand this, they wouldn't be vegetarians, and they wouldn't, they would be eating cow too if they understood the origins of their religious views. Now, I say that to say religious views are like that. They get skewed and warped and twisted and turned completely topsy-turvy and not resembling anything like its original true purpose. And that's why every millennium and at the beginning and end of every age, somebody needs to get direct communication with the big guy upstairs, and then put things straight, put these twisted, wrong, broken religious ideas that got all bent over time, and straighten those things out. Because Jesus wasn't a Christian, right? We weren't ever supposed to be worshiping Jesus. Okay, Jesus was just one of those guys that at around the age of 30 had communication with God, and then spent the rest of his life trying to share what he had learned by having that communication with God at age 30. That happened to Jesus, that happened to Buddha, that happened to Zoroaster, that happened to Muhammad, and that's like a pattern. That's like a very common thing. And yeah. So that thing happened to me at age 30. For 6 months, God spoke to me every morning for about an hour or two, right after I woke up every morning, and when I was getting ready to go out and busk. So for 6 months it was talking to me, but for about 6 months to a year before that, I felt all of this pressure. I didn't understand it at the time at all. I just felt it. But now, look, hindsight's 2020 and everything. Now I understand it. When you communicate with God, like Moses did that apparently up in some mountain, and he came back and he was glowing or whatever, and it said that but it would kill other people. Like God's presence could literally kill you. Now, I think that there's some truth to that, because when it was talking to me, it wasn't using English. It did when it told me who I was, but it most of the time it was going through my brain very intimately. Like, it wasn't like God was nearby and talking to me like the way we talk to each other. God went inside of my being, like where my memories are stored, and it was like rifling through everything, and it was like my life was flashing before his eyes. And I was experiencing my life flashing before his eyes, but he wasn't just experiencing my life just for the experience of it. He was having my life flash before his eyes just to find particular things, so that then he could stitch those particular things together in a order to tell me a message that was way more than the original memory ever was to begin with. That's the way God chose to communicate with me the most often. And does that sound like something someone making it up would say? or is that like a little too much detail and a little too it sounds like that's probably some true shit, huh? Because like just think about it. Also, I started busking beforehand because God was preparing me. I had to be in the right headspace and everything to even have the communication and not die. I had to actually enjoy my life because God is love, and I had to love my life. But I wasn't loving my life. I was working in a job I fucking hated, and I was fucking miserable. 9 to 5, I was miserable 40 hours a week, and that's too many hours a week to be miserable. And honestly, I was miserable way more than that because the commute was on top of the 40 hours a week, and and then yeah, it was all bad. Okay, but anyway, I was busking. I was singing and playing guitar at BART stations every day, uh, as my job. I was doing it 8 hours a day, and I was going when during the rush hours, in the morning rush and in the afternoon rush. So I was going when there was the most people, and I'm a really shy, awkward person, and I had never sung in my life at all. I had guitar lessons when I was 15, but I had never even tried to sing and play at the same time. But here I was. I just started doing it at BART stations, and so obviously that pressure that I was telling you I was feeling before the communication happened was it was some real pressure, and that pressure got me to do that shit that I would never do under any ordinary circumstances. You understand? Like that was some like extra shit there that was influencing me when I was doing that. That wasn't me left to my own devices doing that, because I'm not that brave, confident, and any of that. Okay, but I was proud of myself and everything, and it did make me enjoy my life enough. It beat the hell out of the construction I was doing, and so it made me love my life enough for God to be able to be that intimate with me, and have it not kill me. Or maybe just God didn't want to have to uh, become intimate with someone that was miserable or whatever. Whatever the case may be, there was all this preparation beforehand, and then there was this 6 months of daily communication where and I don't just believe whatever some magical voice just starts telling me. Like, I know better than that. So I was testing it. And after 6 months, it had completely earned my trust. I trusted it completely. But then it told me who I was, and I wasn't buying it. I wasn't buying it at all. I was insulted. It was, it seemed like some sick joke to me. So that's how little I thought that of myself, that even after 6 months of God earning my trust, when God told me that, I was like, you gotta be, you're definitely joking right now. That can't be true. Because it bothers me when people say he thinks he's that. Like, no, I was told that. I really never thought in a million years anything like that at all. But after being told that and not believing it, I then realized a bunch of coincidences that just became way too many for it to be dismissed anymore. So this birthmark right there, which people could call it a mole, I guess, but it's not like I have moles all over the place. That's the one and only mole, and it's right there. If you go to Google Images and search for the crucifixion spear of destiny, you will only find it portrayed on that side in that area in every depiction. Okay, and then man child is supposed to be a man child. What? Look at this. Look at this. What does this look like to you? Is Okay, I'm about to be 34, so that should qualify as a man, right? But what does this look like? pretty childlike, right? Okay, because this hasn't aged at all. Like this has looked exactly like this since I was 15. So man child, all right. And I was born April 14th, and April 14th and Nisan 14th are one and the same. Nisan 14th was the day, uh, you know, the original Passover was on Nisan 14th. Okay, and okay, so I was born on the original Passover. Well, the Passover falls on a different day every year. But the Passover fell on April 13th, the year I was born. And I look at 13th as close enough because I was born on the night between the 13th and 14th at 3 a.m. So if the Passover fell on the 13th, and the Passover is a full moon thing, and full moons usually happen at nighttime, then if the Passover fell on the 13th because it was going to be the full moon that night, then it really makes no difference. 14th is just the same, right? Because it's a moon related thing. So the night of the 13th is, to me, it's the same thing. Like 15th wouldn't have worked, 12th wouldn't have worked, but 13th and 14th both work. Anyway, I wanted to be honest about that because I didn't explain that before, but because I don't know why I didn't explain it before, because I probably shouldn't have even explained it this time. It's better off just to say that I was born on the old Passover, and it was also a Passover year the year I was born, because it's heavy. And then also 1987 was a rabbit year. Easter makes no sense unless there's a rabbit year, or there's got to be a rabbit involved somehow, or Easter makes no sense. And Easter is a Passover related holiday. And there's eggs that get colored. Well, the moon is symbolized by an egg, and it getting colored relates to the fact that it wasn't just a full moon. There was also a penumbral lunar eclipse when I was born. And penumbral lunar eclipse are known to turn the moon red. So a white egg moon getting turned red. Red's the most common color Easter egg. Red. And also for Christmas, there's red balls on the tree. Those red balls are supposed to be the same thing, the moon turning red. Anyway, what the hell? there's just so many things I can't even keep them all straight in my head. But then, okay, there's my blood type. My blood type is the only blood that isn't lethal to anybody. And you wouldn't expect that dude's blood to be lethal to anybody, right? Like if you got a blood transfusion with Jesus and Jesus was the donor of your blood, you would be like, oh, that's probably really great blood. I'll take that any day. You wouldn't expect that to ever, be lethal, right? So obviously my blood type must be the blood type it has to be. Also, the hair color and textures is right. The facial features are pretty damn close. The body type is pretty much spot on. Like they didn't nail a fat dude to a tree, right? He was a pretty lean, slender mofo, and so like everything's there. Okay, and then it's homeless. Okay, he would humble himself as our servant, which meant as the lowest class, which so homeless with divine favor and hated. Now, right now, being a straight white male right now is probably the worst time ever to be coming of age as a straight white male. A straight white male is probably the most demonized thing you can be, period, right now. And that's only right now. Like no other time in history has that been a bad thing except right now. Like, why do you think that is? Maybe because that guy was going to be a straight white male, and people that are in charge of our MK Ultra programming uh, are were aware of that fact and made sure to demonize that guy in time for his arrival. They knew when he'd be here. It's supposed to be at the beginning and end of each age, and everybody knew that the age ended at the end of the Mayan calendar in 2012. And then there was a 7 year uh, lapse, a 7 year seven seals. The seven seals were seals used for to separate unlike things. So seven seals between the age of Pisces and the age of Aquarius. So 2012, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So now we're in 2020, we're officially in the age of Aquarius. And during that 7 year in between period, I did come of age. I did get told who I was. The Mandela effect coincided with me being told who I was. I even had a John the Baptizer experience that I'm not even going to get into. But yeah, I have one of those. I also have Mary Magdalene found me. She came up to me when I was busking at a BART station, and she was crying uncontrollably, telling me that she remembers me from a past life. And then she proceeded to divorce her husband immediately afterwards, and with the intent to be with me after that. That's not what wound up happening, because the guy she divorced hired a private investigator that, you know, put me under one hell of a microscope and gave her some details that she didn't find too savory, I suppose. But that is what happened, and she named her daughter Mary. I was going to name my firstborn Jesse, whether it was a girl or a boy. It was going to be Jesse, Mary, Jesse, Mary Magdalene, Jesus. These just a lot of fucking coincidences just piling up. And guess what? There was a fucking earthquake, a bona fide earthquake that was centered right here in the Bay Area, San Francisco. The very moment I realized that there was a not just a full moon, but a lunar eclipse on my birthday, and after I had just found out that it was on the Nisan 14th, the actual Passover. And so my that was when my mind was being like blown, like for the first time, over like having way too many coincidences. And right as my mind was being blown, a fucking earthquake happened. Earthquakes are acts of God. So that's why I am completely sold hook, line, and sinker, because there's just way too many coincidences. And it's like, if it's true, what's the worst that could happen? Okay. And if it's not true, and these are just a shitload of just coincidences and nothing more, then still, what's the worst that could happen? It's not like me thinking that is ever going to ruin anybody else's life in any way, because like I've always been a pretty decent person. I try my best not to hurt people. Like I'm not like ever gonna like don't worry, I'm not going to start a cult and try to convince everybody to kill themselves on the next Hail Bop comment or whatever. Like relax. like that's not my style. There's really nothing there shouldn't be any negative connotation to this thing at all. But I've been being put under one hell of a microscope, and that has been unbelievably uncomfortable for me. Because because people view things the wrong way. In the beginning of this video, how I was talking about worshiping the cows, and now that they're vegetarians and they won't eat cows, even though the only reason they worship them in the first place is because of how delicious cows are. Okay, well, because you worship something you weren't ever supposed to worship anyway. It was just a teacher that was there just to pass information along. You weren't supposed to worship the messenger. You were just supposed to take the goddamn message for what the message was, and forget about the messenger. Okay, so you're not supposed to worship me. I don't want your worship, and I'm not worthy of worship anyway. I'm just like you in pretty much every other way, except for the fact that, yeah, I was that dude in my past life, but you were somebody in your past life too. We've all had past lives, a whole lot of them. Mine just happened to go viral, and I just happened to be used as a conduit to transmit. I'm a fucking teacher, okay? And it's sure, it's special and interesting in its own way, but it does not require any worship, nor does it require any gigantic fucking microscopes on my life to try to catch me doing something naughty. Okay, I'm not claiming that my behavior is so good that I might as well be that. I never ever said that or suggested that in any way. What I said was exactly what I said. I got told that. I wasn't buying it. Then I noticed all these coincidences. Then I started buying it. But just because I'm buying it doesn't mean you have to buy shit. You don't even have to give a fuck about me, as a matter of fact. You don't. You don't have to give any fucks about me whatsoever. You don't even have to think about me ever. You could have stay in your own lane, do your own thing, and that would be just fine. I don't understand why there's this gigantic fucking microscope over me 24/7. Seriously. Let me show you how bad it has gotten. See that? That I can't really show you much more than that. But that's a lot more than it even looks. But all of that is, believe it or not, necessary. That is necessary because apparently I did some looking into the whole issue. Even civilians are able to purchase devices that render walls a non-issue effectively anymore. And somebody with enough nosiness and with I don't know, $50 to waste could render walls meaningless and basically just, spy on you nonstop all day, every day, as if your life is so much more important than, as if someone else's life is way more important than your own. That's something you could do if you were nosy enough to be so inclined. And that's exactly what's being done to my ass. And the worst part about it is, even just trying to tell someone straight up what I'm dealing with makes me sound like the crazy one. It's the fucking worst part about this. I can't. What am I supposed to what am I supposed to do about it? And I even thought for a while that I must be going crazy. But then they didn't really want me thinking that. They were doing all kinds of things to go way out of their way to make sure I knew, no, you're not crazy. Like, we're really doing that. Like, you should probably be really embarrassed and stuff. Like, they wanted, they didn't want to help me get on SSI. They just wanted to, you know, be more effective at causing torture. It's just, it's sick, sadistic shit. And they're using the, the shit that happened to me when I turned 30 and my honest recounting of it as a reason to be doing that. But when I think about that, it makes me think that sounds like a reason not to do that. If anything, it doesn't sound like a good reason at all to do that. Anyway, I guess that was kind of weird. I guess people randomly yell shit all the time, but it seemed kind of aimed at me. So I guess I need to shut up now because people are getting riled up out there. Anyway, let me know what you think down below. That's about all I can do tonight anyway.